Hey everyone, and welcome back to episode 8 of the Snowboard Instructor Podcast. This episode we have Nev Lapwood from Snowboard Addiction, who is based in Whistler, Blackcomb. We talk about his company, Whistler Resort, and freestyle snowboarding as an instructing tool. Alongside this, we have a sponsor for this episode. Watch and Ride is an online snowboarding school which focuses on improving your ability no matter what level you are. With loads of quick tutorials and feedback from high-level instructors, you're bound to improve not just your technical ability, but also your knowledge. They also have a fitness program to help maintain your fitness for next season of shredding. As we all know, lockdown has made us a bit lazy. Visit Watch and Ride and use the coupon code Snowboard Instructor Podcast for 25% off your order. We hope you enjoy this episode and have a great day. Thanks for coming onto the podcast anyway, Nev. It's been an absolute pleasure. Again, great last minute talk. So I couldn't wait to 3 p.m. where you are at the moment in Whistler, and then 11 o'clock around here. So yeah, 8 hours difference, kind of standard. But yeah,
are we talking already, or are we gonna do an official start?
This is the official start. I'll do like an intro, but yeah, it's all good. We'll just kind of chill into it, really.
All right, sounds good. We're live.
So yeah, first question I want to ask is essentially where you started in snowboarding. So from that first lesson to kind of evidently going up to the instructor qualifications.
So when you say first lesson, like first time I had a lesson?
Yeah, first time you had a lesson, the first time you strapped on a snowboard as well.
Do you remember?
Because there was no lessons when I started.
Oh, really? Nice. You just kind of strapped it on and hoped for the best.
Lessons didn't exist. So it was 1993. I was 10 years old, and my parents were skiers, so I was a skier for probably like 5 years at that point.
Yeah.
And I've seen a couple of people on snowboards. I saw a couple of people on snowboards, and I was like, "Oh, that looks cool." And that's pretty much it. I had to buy one brand new from a shop because there wasn't a secondhand market.
Okay. Yeah.
You couldn't go buy a secondhand snowboard. That didn't exist. So I had to buy a board, and I split it with my parents. So I paid half of it, and they paid half of it. And that was when I started, like 10 years old.
Wow. How was that first experience then, kind of going straight into it?
I can't remember it too well because it was so long ago. It was a T-bar. You guys know what T-bars are. Yeah. And it definitely took me probably most of the first day to just figure out how to ride the T-bar.
Nice.
But I remember on my first season, I was 10 years old. I do remember that I could land a 360 by the end of the season.
Nice.
Is that flat or off a kicker?
Off a little jump.
Off a little.
Yeah. And so there was nobody teaching back then. There was no one to even watch. I didn't even know how I learned a 360. I just vividly remember by the end of that first season, I could do a 360.
Nice.
So I was just send it and hope for the best.
Was that both ways? Front side and backside, or just front side or backside?
I think it was backside. I'm pretty sure it was backside.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I remember my first 540s were backside as well, which was not the first season. I remember the jump. I can kind of visualize it in my head because I grew up on this really crappy little mountain. It's called Mount Egmont or Mount Taranaki, Manganui ski field. And it's like one T-bar and 2 rope toes is the whole resort. You guys know what a nutcracker is?
No, we don't actually.
So in New Zealand, they have these club resorts, which are like just kind of locally run resorts.
Yeah.
And the lifts are rope toes, which you obviously know what a rope toe is, right?
Yeah.
Some of these rope toes are so big and so long that you actually have to wear an abseiling harness. And a nutcracker is a metal contraption that you attach to your abseiling harness, and you flick it around the rope and hold on to the nutcracker, and that drags you up the mountain.
Oh, cool.
That's really.
So you literally wear this nutcracker on the side of your hip all day, like a metal device, like a pretty big metal device sitting on the side of your hip all day, and you're riding it.
Was it pretty comfortable, or was it like just?
Man, like to put one on now, I'd be like, oh my god, this is
weird.
But it's just you didn't know any different. It's just what you did.
Yeah.
It's like you just didn't know. Yeah, That was how you went skiing at that point and snowboarding.
And how long was your small resort essentially?
So basically, you had one T-bar and two rope toes, and one of the rope toes was just a learner's toe. So pretty small, like pretty small, and nothing significant, and pretty small season. If they had 30, 40 days in a season that were open, that was a good season.
Nice.
I mean, it's not as bad as I guess it's kind of on par with what you guys have. You guys are on the snow domes and the man-made little ski fields.
Yeah, they're like 24/7 sort of things. I mean, they're not on all night and day, but you know, they're on every day. But I'd say the closest we get is you just get not the best seasons out in the Alps sometimes because it's always just microclimates and stuff. Compared to obviously Canada and stuff where it's a bit more, you know, snowy.
So how is the dry slopes that you guys go to? Is it like a dry slope or is it like snow inside a building?
So it's actually a mix. The ones we personally go to is actually a snow dome where it's an indoor snow facility that create their own snow, but then we'll kind of mix it up a bit where we do go to a lot of like the grassroots dry slopes. So yeah, it's kind of dotted really, but the main one of course is at the snow dome, which is in the middle of the UK essentially. But yeah, great. How long were you at that resort then for? And then when did you start to kind of think about, you know what, I could start to snowboard in other places, somewhere else, essentially?
So I guess my first 7 or 8 years were at that resort and another resort because that's where I grew up, right? So I was in school, living with my family. There's another resort in New Zealand called Ruapehu, or it was called Turoa, and that was about 3.5 hours drive away. And we'd go there quite a lot in winter as well because it was a much bigger resort. It had a terrain park, it had chairlifts. That little one I was talking about is only like a 40-minute drive from where we grew up.
Yeah.
So that was like the close one, but the Turoa was the much better one. So I guess the first 8 years of my snowboarding was there. And then throughout that, I did a few trips down to the South Island of New Zealand, which has better resorts, has a bit more snow and some better mountains for snowboarding and skiing. So I did a little bit of snowboarding down there, but I guess it really I guess snowboarding for me and more or less a full-time thing happened when I moved overseas. So I moved to Canada and I was about 21-ish. And I came here and I literally got a job in a restaurant bussing tables. Do you guys know what bussing tables is?
Yeah.
I'm just waiting.
Yeah, just clearing tables.
Yeah.
Taking the dishes to the back room. And that was my first job in Canada. So I would do that so I could snowboard all day and just do that in the evenings.
Awesome.
And then my second year in Canada, my second winter in Canada, I decided to become a snowboard instructor. Okay. So I got my level 1, what is it? It's called CASI over here, Canadian Association of Snowboard Instructors. Yeah. And I was just telling you guys actually that I actually did my level 1, my level 2, and my level 3 all in one season.
All together.
Yes, that's mental.
That is rare.
And was that all based in Whistler? You did your courses, yeah?
Yep. Yeah. I just thought, why wait? I mean, I'm just gonna get it all done. Like I'm gonna be a snowboard instructor, just get it all done. Nice. And then I was doing some snowboard instruction part-time for Whistler Blackcomb at that point. Yeah. And that's kind of where it started, I guess.
Yeah, and did you do your mainly the instructing at the local ski school in Whistler, I'm guessing?
Yeah, I did a little, just moved around. So Whistler's everyone probably knows that Whistler's a pretty big mountain. Yeah. So there's a lot of different opportunities inside the ski and snowboard school. So I kind of just moved around and checked everything out. There's like the kids program, there's adult privates, there's like a little club that kind of like teaches kids to snowboard on the weekend. And I kind of like moved around and checked everything out my first couple of years. I didn't really do too much. I was only doing a few days a week at that point of instruction because I wanted to snowboard as much as possible. Yeah.
Okay, that's sick. And going from the resort itself, actually, when did you actually move to Whistler? What year? 2004. How how has it changed since from like 2004 to now? Has there been like a big progression of the resort, or has it been just pretty small?
Yeah, it's been massive. It's changed heaps.
Yeah.
There's new lifts, there's new gondolas, there's definitely a lot busier. It's more expensive to live here. It's really hard to get accommodation. It's changed a lot. Some for the good, some not so much for the good. The thing that attracts people to Whistler is that you've got big mountains, you've got lots of snow, you've got a really cool vibe where the town is right at the resort, so you don't have to travel. I really like that. Like, like from where I live, I can walk 150 meters and ride down to the gondola.
Nice. Yeah.
Awesome. Because I'm a little bit lazy when it comes to like driving. I don't want to have to drive half an hour.
Yeah.
If it's good snow, I just want to get up and go.
Yeah.
And Whistler, I don't know how many places in the world you can do that, but Whistler is one of the places where you can live that close to me. So it's got a full package, and it's got terrain parks too, which is really good, especially when the snow's not that good. Because if it's like just sunny days midwinter and it's not powdery, man,
nice.
Go ride the terrain park.
Yeah.
And I love that as a snowboarder and someone who's into freestyle and doing, tricks and jumps and rails and everything. Yeah. They have that here too. So that aspect of the mountains being really good hasn't changed. The biggest downside is it's been so busy the last few years. There's so many people here. So the powder gets chewed up really quick.
Yeah.
But in saying that, there's lots of backcountry as well.
And I know it's early days at the moment in terms of Whistler's only been open for about a week or so now. But in terms of the situation, have you seen the numbers decrease because of the pandemic? Or is it kind of like roughly the same?
I think it's definitely quieter here. They've also put restrictions, so they're only allowing a certain amount of people to ride the mountain every day.
Okay.
Nobody knows how many people it is. They don't tell you. They've got this booking system.
There's a number.
The booking system sucks. It sucks. It's so crap. But it's kind of working. I don't know. It's definitely quieter, and hopefully it's going to be a really good season here. I'm pretty positive that it's going to be an awesome season. It's dumping outside right now. We're going to have a power day tomorrow.
It's going to be so good.
Is that wake up early in the morning tomorrow then? Yeah. First runs, powder runs.
Get some coffee down, yeah.
But the lift in Whistler normally opens at 8:30 in the morning.
Okay, that's good.
If it's a good power day, I'll probably go at about 7:30.
Yeah.
Do you do quite a lot of hiking then, around in Whistler?
For like backcountry?
Yeah.
You do touring a bit.
I do mostly snowmobile access backcountry.
Okay.
Because I prefer the machine assisted.
Again, being lazy.
A little bit.
I don't know if it's being lazy. It's just that I do have a touring setup, so I have a split board. But if you want to go split boarding, like you can go and tour for hours and get one run.
Yeah.
Snowmobile, man, we can like snowboard all day and not even anywhere near as tired as you do with a split board. I don't think I'm lazy. I just like to get the most.
Yeah. Don't blame you. Yeah. Get as many laps in as possible before the sun goes down for sure. Going back into, sorry, carry on, Nev.
That's one of my favorite things about Whistler actually is that the backcountry is so accessible. There's so many mountains around here that you can access either by touring setups or snowmobile, or even if you have the funds, heliboarding. There's like several heli operations, catboarding operations. Snowmobile access is my favorite because you can get so deep into the backcountry and you get such good snow, and it's a hell of a lot of fun even by itself.
Nice.
Do you rent it out, or do you have your own, or for a snowmobile? You have your own. Do you have? Obviously, you have to have a license for it and stuff. Or no, you don't.
You just go out.
Oh, fair enough.
So good.
Anybody can buy a snowmobile and go to the backcountry, no license.
Fair enough. I just presumed you have to have a license because it's a vehicle.
I mean, if you do, I don't know about it, but no, I've been snowmobiling. No one's ever told me I need a license. That's cool. It's a lot of fun, and it is one of the places in the world. Like in Europe, I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can.
No, I don't think you do. I think they're very restrictive about that area.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You got to do it, and there is snowmobile companies that will rent you their sleds. So, like, if you're out in Canada and you want to do it, you can go and rent them for a day, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
And going from actually just the environment of Canada from New Zealand, what's like the differences and the similarities that you've kind of been when kind of course, born in New Zealand to Canada itself.
Yep. So New Zealand and British Columbia, which is where I live in Canada, are actually quite similar in a lot of ways. So the people are fairly friendly. People are fairly environmentally conscious. It's a pretty open society. You can kind of do what you want. Business fairly friendly. The landscapes are very similar. The major differences in terms of snowboarding are that the mountains are bigger, they get more snow, and the season's longer.
Okay.
So in terms of skiing and snowboarding, Canada or British Columbia is by far superior to New Zealand from that aspect, which is really why I just chose to make this place my home, is that you get a solid 6 month of winter, good amount of powder days every year, good terrain parks, and big mountains and the whole package of everything, which you get that in New Zealand, but to a smaller scale.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Is the snow quite more? Would you say more icy, more compact in New Zealand, and of course, being Canada's beautiful kind of powder days and whatnot? Has that do you have to like change your riding? I'm guessing you've gone back to New Zealand previously, kind of living in Canada, and how do you feel like you've had to change your riding over that?
Yeah, so my first 6 years in Canada, I actually went back and forth, and I did like an endless winter for 6 years.
Hmm.
So there was probably a point where I was snowboarding around about 200 days a year.
Wow.
And that's where I feel like I got really good. Like I really got good at snowboarding in that 6 year period where I was just like, bam, bam, bam. Snowboarding was my life. It's all I did. And I don't regret that at all. Except now I just like being in Canada and having 6 months of winter and 6 months of summer and doing different stuff in summer. Now I love that now.
Yeah.
So I've been back to New Zealand lots of times, almost every year, but the last few years I've just been going back for weddings and family events and stuff like that.
Of course.
But in terms of changing your riding, I don't really think you need to change your riding between different countries. The only time you change your riding is between different conditions according to what the mountain is showing you at that time. So if it's an icy day, you're going to ride differently than if it's a powder day, for sure. But you get icy days and powder days in New Zealand, you get icy and powder days in Canada. So adapting your riding to whatever the current conditions are.
Yeah.
Perfect. And going back to just actually the Canadian system itself, can you remember in terms of like the level 1, 2, and 3, in terms of the criteria and what was expected to do as a teaching instructor to how it is now essentially?
So I don't know how it is now so much because I haven't done any of it recently.
Yeah.
It was probably 10 or more years. It is more than 10 years ago that I did actually my 1, 2, and 3. The reason I did it so quick, the reason I was able to do it so quick is my riding was really good.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to worry about my riding because I'd snowboarded for a long time, and I was at that stage I was probably better than most people who were teaching courses. So they couldn't really fault me on the riding, so I just had to learn the teaching.
Which is hard.
How did you get on with the teaching? Sorry. How did you get on with the teaching?
You just make it till you make it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you learn what the instructor tells you and then you regurgitate it.
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem learning it personally. My mum's a teacher, so maybe that helped me. She's like a school teacher. But yeah, no, I just kind of picked up what they said and tried to copy what they were doing and had no problem presenting it. So, as long as you've got strong presentation skills, a good attitude, and you are outgoing a little bit, because you got to teach people, you've got to be a little bit outgoing. You've got to be well presented. You've got to be able to speak. And if you put all that together and you've got good snowboarding, then you crush it.
You're laughing?
Great. And the level 3 itself, of course, that high one, did you find in terms of the technical ability slightly difficult, or was it pretty, again, really easy on your end because you had that experience down with the technical aspect?
So the riding for me was always easy and the teaching was harder, but I snuck through it and came out okay. So it's so long ago that I can't remember.
Yeah, understandable. It's like it must have been ages ago. Yeah, just trying to remember everything from that. It's just going to be ridiculous.
I did try to do the level 4. So I think it was my second season. I tried to get the level 4, and I didn't get it.
How did that go though? In terms of the course itself.
Well, I kind of thought I was going to get it, but I was probably just too cocky.
What was was it a technical aspect or a teaching aspect for the level 4?
Oh, I don't think it wasn't a writing aspect. It was something to do with the teaching, I guess.
Yeah.
But the level 4 has always been pretty exclusive, and they try to keep it exclusive, and you have to be more or less perfect to get it. I probably should try and sit it again sometime.
Yeah.
I just haven't really thought about it.
Hey, on the bucket list beforehand for sure.
What's that, sorry?
It's definitely on the bucket list. Moving on to the next segment then, in terms of Snowboard Addiction itself, and going from that, talk through the history of the origins of the company itself, and like why you wanted to start that up essentially.
All right, cool. So my second year in Whistler, I was a snowboard instructor, right? And I think it was maybe my 4th year in Whistler that I was like, right, now I'm living in Whistler. Because I kind of like that at that stage, right? It was just like, I'm living here now. I'm like, what am I going to do to actually make money? And it was literally that question. It was like, what am I going to do to make a living? And I was like, well, I was reading a book at the time, and the book, I can't remember which book it was, but it said like, what are you good at and what do you love to do and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, I'm good at snowboarding. I love to snowboard and all this stuff. And this book basically told me, hey, you should try to do something in your life around snowboarding. And that's a true story. Like, it was one of the personal development books. I can't remember which one it was. And so I was like, man, okay, well, I got to figure out how to make money around snowboarding. And I'm good at teaching it. So that's how Snowboard Addiction started, was that it was a teaching program that could teach people how to snowboard through the internet.
Yeah.
And originally it was the audios you could put on your iPod,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
PDF manuals that you would read about snowboard instruction technique, and you could listen to it while you're riding. And then we started adding videos that would teach you how to snowboard. And it always had quite a strong freestyle focus, because I was always focused on freestyle myself. So tricks, jumps, rails, boxes, half pipe, that was the focus. I feel like you can teach everything in snowboarding around freestyle as well.
Yeah.
And it took off from there. It was the best videos or best program to learn to snowboard. Always has been, always will be. That you can get online, and people started paying for it. We started selling it. So that's how we started.
Nice. And moving from that, then going into the idea of the equipment itself, kind of course, adding the merch, adding the jib boards and the tram board and whatnot. Did that come into play quite later in the process of that? And if so, what was in between that? What were the other ideas that you had for Snowboard Addiction?
Yeah. So the actual products that we do these days was way down the road, probably like 5 or 6 years down the road.
Yeah.
Because I've been doing this full time now since 2007, 13 years. And you know what? One thing I'll tell you that's actually kind of funny is that the first 3 years or so in Whistler, I was working in the same restaurant that I worked in. And it was at the end of a winter season when I got laid off from the restaurant. So I didn't have a job. And that's when I was like, oh, what am I going to do to make money in Whistler? So I actually kind of got laid off from the job I had, and winter was ending up, and I had to think, what am I going to do to make money? And that's when this idea of Snowboard Addiction came up. And the question you had about the products was that the products was way down the road. It's probably like 6 years down the road. Yeah. So I was making all these videos that would teach people how to snowboard. Pretty much made a video for everything I could think about. And we were doing videos like on trampolines with like skateboard decks.
Yeah.
We were doing videos with, the balance bar we have now.
Yeah.
We were making these balance bars out of bits of lumber.
Yeah.
And jumping around on skateboard decks. So I was already doing this with these products. And I was like, maybe I should try to make some kind of product that people can use. So the first product we actually had was the balance bar. And the first product wasn't my product. It was a product of a guy in California, Matt Piercy. It was originally called Erratic.
A racket.
Erratic.
Ratchet.
And he contacted me and asked me if I would do a review on his product. And I said, look, I could review it for you, but really I would like to rebrand this and sell it as a Snowboard Addiction product.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, we can do that. And so he basically started putting some Snowboard Addiction stickers on it, and I would sell it to our customers. And after doing that for like maybe a year or so, it got to the point where he was like, oh, you're selling 10 times more of these than I'm selling. I just buy my company. So we were pretty good friends at that point, and he gave me a really good price just to be able to buy out his equipment and the molds that he used to make that product. And then that product became our first real product.
Oh, nice.
Balance bar.
Wow.
So the next product was the tramp boards, which led in really well with the balance bar. And again, that wasn't our product either. There was other companies out there making product like that. And we actually, the first time I started selling tramp boards, it was someone else's product. And they had about 50 of them. And I was like, yeah, okay, well, send me the 50 and I'll sell them. And then I sold them. And I was like, well, send me more. Can I get another 50? They didn't have any more. So, and they didn't want to make any more.
Oh, really?
So I was in a situation where I was like, well, okay, well, I guess I've got to start making tramp boards now. So again, like these first two products that we really had were not really our products. Well, they kind of were, they kind of weren't. Like we had the ideas around them, but someone else had the idea as well. And it merged into eventually where they are the Snowboard Addiction products.
I think those products are actually really good. One of my uni mates has bought the Snowboard Addiction, and I had a go on it one night out when we were at the student bar, and I was like, oh, I've never tried these, but I've always gotten used to doing my jib tricks, just on a normal snowboard. Proper weird when I first started, but really, really good, and like proper good quality. I did enjoy it like tons.
We have a shipping warehouse in the UK. Do you know that?
No?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, because if you're looking there shipping, it's UK as well, along with Europe and whatnot.
Ah.
So anyone who buys in the UK usually gets their product in like a couple of days, probably most of the time.
And did those, like, let's say the balance bar and of course the boards itself, have you evolved the products over time since its original design?
Yeah, it's much better now. Yep. Yeah, there's just little changes that happen all the time. The bindings get tweaked, the boards get tweaked, the foam gets tweaked, the amount of inserts gets tweaked, all sorts of different bits and pieces. So the boards that we have now are much better than the original ones we had. The way that they respond to a trampoline, and the bindings are much more comfortable. And we've got lots of improvements we want to still make. It's just a slow process of always improving it.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm guessing you're pretty happy where it is at the moment, of course. Going from actually the merch itself to more of the social side and the videos, what was the main motive actually of creating like the freestyle videos and the tutorials on that?
Oh, the main motive was just to create an income so I could keep living in Whistler.
Yeah.
So really it was twofold. Create an income so I can live in Whistler, but doing that by helping people snowboard better. So sharing the knowledge that I have about snowboarding with as many people as I can in return for me being able to live this lifestyle.
Yeah.
And when did that kind of start to move in terms of into YouTube itself? Was it always on YouTube, or was it did you have it on any of the platforms as well?
Oh, YouTube was like the first big marketing platform we had. So we were on YouTube our first year, 2007. And we had several of our videos on YouTube trying to direct people back to our website from there to get the full program. And so there'd be kind of like some samples, some teaser videos, and a couple of full-length videos on YouTube. And that would bring people over to snowboardaddiction.com where they could purchase the full program. Download that program to their computer.
Oh, cool. And going from the social side, is there any plans in terms of content that you're bringing out in terms of the future of Snowboard Addiction itself? Of course, stuff you can say that you want to you're not able to keep a secret. But yeah, going from that side then.
We don't have any real secrets. Yeah, so you guys well, these days it's much more around the products. That's how we create the revenue of the business. Whereas the education these days is all about helping people get better at snowboarding any way we can. Have you seen any of the live videos that we made where we teach people live?
The live coaching, I bloody love them. Like I do really like, because at the moment I'm trying to get my coaching better as a personal to aim to do my level 3 Basie, and watching your coaching videos, how you actually coach and teach the person, fucking amazing, and the ways you do about it, so very, 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 very good.
Thank you. So that's we kind of started doing most of that last year. Was our first real year doing that. We're going to do more of that this year. So we're really going to just get on and just help people on the mountain, meet people and help them improve their riding. And that becomes our marketing material as well. So we make these videos that help people that anyone in the world can watch, but as a result, it also promotes the products we sell and kind of all works together. That's a win-win.
Do you work closely at all with Whistler itself in terms of creating the content or doing any of these coaching sessions at all?
Used to. Whistler used to be owned by its own company. Now it's owned by Vail.
Yeah.
Since it's owned by Vail, it's really hard to get anything done with Whistler anymore. So with anything with Vail, it's just impossible to do anything. So no, I've got no relationship with them anymore.
What is Vail Resorts like as like a company? Because I know it's massive. Thumbs down.
Yeah. Oh yeah, not everyone can see the video, right?
Yeah. Do you think that end up owning like quite a lot of basically resorts by the end of in the next few years?
Could go that way.
Yeah.
Looks like it's going that way.
Because it seems like we've got the same thing going up in Andorra. It's most of the slopes are owned by one big company called Grand Valera, and there's only like 2 resorts left that are only independently owned, which is Valnord and Arcalys. Well, even Arcalys last season ended up getting brought out by Grand Valera. So we're thinking that, give it 10 years, Grand Valera will basically own the whole of Andorra as a country, because it is just the Pyrenees between Spain and France. Right. And we're thinking I'm thinking Vail Resorts might go that way as well.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they're going that way. I don't really look into it too much, to be honest. I just go snowboarding.
Too much politics otherwise. With Snowboard Addiction itself, and kind of basing yourself in Whistler, was that always going to be the case, or did you ever think of expanding Snowboard Addiction or kind of moving it to some other resorts in Canada?
So yeah, the whole Whistler thing was that I just moved. It was the first resort I came to, but I'd been here once as a child. My parents had taken me here with my family, and I just remember it being awesome, because I remember I came here and I was like 13 years old, and the power was like knee deep, and I was like, oh my god, this is a wicked mountain. And so I literally flew over here from New Zealand when I was like 21, got on a bus, came up to Whistler, and never really left. Kind of like I went back and forth to New Zealand a few times, but it's just, I don't know, it's got the biggest reputation, it's got the best of everything. I don't think there is a better resort. I mean, I've been all around the world. I do really like Japan, but I think Whistler's better still. I've been to a bunch of resorts through America, Canada, Japan, Korea, China, Europe, and it's got it all here. So, and like in terms of like, do I ever look at getting up and moving? The only reason I would get up and move is if they all came to me and said like, you can't film your videos anymore here. Yeah. If they banned me, I would probably just go move. I'd be like, right, do this somewhere else. But I don't want to do that. My home's here, my family's here. It would be such a stupid move for them to do that, because I've met so many people who've come to Whistler who have been like, oh man, I'm in Whistler because I saw your videos.
Yeah.
It's nuts how many people I've seen who've said that to me. And so that's why it would be such a dick move for them to ever do that. I don't think it's ever going to happen, so I don't really have to worry about it.
In terms of that, fame then, what do you still remember, like the first person who came up to you saying, "Oh, you got that guy from Snowboard Addiction." Do you remember that all?
You know, the funny thing is for a long time I don't know if people knew what I looked like because I was always in bandanas and stuff.
Yeah.
People recognized my voice.
Yeah.
It was really weird when people started recognizing my voice, and I would talk to people and be like, "You're the guy from Snowboard Addiction." So that was a legit thing, and that was really weird. But these days, I get recognized all over the place, especially on the mountain. If I'm in the terrain park, people are always coming up and saying hi and saying they've been watching the videos and talking about it. And that's awesome. I love it. That's wicked. I'm stoked that I've been able to influence so many people with their snowboarding, because you know, like Snowboard Addiction only exists because of the customers.
Yeah.
And if we didn't have people buying the stuff that we make, I would have to be doing some other thing. So I'm pretty happy that people are loving the content that we create and the products that we create, and I'm going to keep doing it for as long as that goes. So people all over the world are buying our stuff. I'm just going to keep trying to make the best things we can for those customers, and that's who we serve. And that's I'm stoked. I'm happy about it. It's been a good life so far, and it's better.
Great. And kind of going back onto the freestyle element of snowboarding itself and how intrinsic it is to you. Do you find freestyle in terms of an overall kind of snowboarding sport in general? Do you feel like the demand of freestyle has been growing quite a lot? Because at the moment, there's kind of been quite a big old shift with snowboard in terms of the free ride's been very kind of noticeable. Have you seen that, and has that kind of lowered the demand, or still kind of you still see a lot of growth with the freestyle?
So I see what you mean, that there has been a bit of a free ride movement for sure, but I still think that the freestyle is just fundamental to snowboarding. It is. Snowboarding is freestyle.
Yeah.
You know, like if you ever see a contest, like the contests are much bigger in freestyle than they are in free ride.
Yeah.
And even in the free ride, they're doing freestyle stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like you're doing your backflips and your 360s and your jumps and your grabs. It's all freestyle. It's a progression. You learn freestyle and you eventually move it into the free ride environment. And I don't know, man. Like I don't think freestyle is ever going to disappear. It's fundamental to snowboarding. Everything that you can do on a snowboard, you can learn it in a freestyle aspect. And there's so many good tools to be able to teach through freestyle. I think if you get taught through freestyle, I think that's stronger than teaching through kind of an instructor program that teaches you through riding. I think freestyle is going to build your skills even better.
Have you found kind of teaching people freestyle? Do you get quite a lot of reoccurring customers and clients that you see on the terrain park because of that? And if so, do you do kind of like off the books kind of little kind of less lessons with that?
So I don't do much hands-on teaching myself anymore, other than stuff in the videos, because we're so busy with Snowboard Addiction, usually making content and being in content. That all the teaching I do these days, it's just like, hey, if I'm there and you're there and we have a camera, let's do some stuff and I'll teach you something. I don't try to build a client base. You can't really do that in Worcester either. The snowboard school out here has a monopoly on the snowboard instruction. So, you know, like, yeah, it's just I don't have the time for it anyway.
But yeah, it's just kind of the situation and hopefully the time and getting it just right.
We get a lot of people asking us all the time if we do lessons.
Yeah.
All the time. Like if we wanted to build a snowboard school, we could. But we're focusing on reaching more people, because the actual method that we do with like teaching videos and teaching the world, we can reach more people than if we provided lessons.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if I was to provide lessons to you guys or anyone, I'm actually disadvantaging potentially millions of people.
Yeah. Very true. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah.
Was it ever kind of like an idea that came across in mind, not necessarily ski school itself, but like an online course, a lot more online courses, which you you do have on Snowboard Addiction, don't you? But kind of really expanding that essentially.
So originally it was all online course on Snowboard Addiction, where you would go on the website and buy the whole course. And we did actually at some point we had it broken up. We had like the learn to ride course, and we had the jibbing course, and we had the jumping course, and we had the riding power course. And then we just kind of all merged it all together and realized that, hey, we can reach more people if we put up this content for free. And that's kind of the route that we've chosen to go.
Nice.
Rather than be this little exclusive thing that you can pay for to get, we try to reach as many people as we can, and then fund the company through selling these products that also help people ride better.
Huh. Nice. And moving, kind of just want to have a quick question back onto Whistler. Do you have like a favorite run or favorite runs at Whistler, or is there any kind of spots on the mountain that you're just like, you know what, I love doing that. I love dropping off that as a little cliff, or maybe riding this little feature in the terrain park,
or even like a favorite line that you do in the freestyle park.
I do have I have lots of favorite runs. One of my favorite early season runs, I'll just mention this one because it's early season right now, is on Blackcomb, and I think it's called the Staircase. It's on the chair called Jersey Cream Chair. And what it is it's a boulder field. So early season, because there's so many boulders, it just makes like a pillow field to ride down. Later in the season, it doesn't really exist. It's just a flat slope. But right now, it's like, and it's really fun to ride down early season. So
that's cool.
I'm going to go ride that tomorrow morning. I rode it on open day this year. In fact, if you look up my personal Instagram, which I think is at near Lapwood, I think, one of the most recent posts was me riding down the staircase. So check that out after this. And anyone who's watching, if you want to see it. One of my favorite early season runs on Whistler Blackcomb. Oh, and one thing I wanted to say is you guys were asking about whether I'd done like a snowboard school or snowboard lessons.
Yeah.
I used to actually do camps, snowboard addiction camps.
Yeah.
And we had snowboard addiction camps in Canada, in New Zealand, and in Japan.
Wow.
And so it was a couple of weeks a year in each location. And it was really fun. It was awesome. I mean, the Japan ones were awesome. The New Zealand ones were awesome. They were all awesome. And we got mostly adults coming on, and we would go and snowboard, and we'd party, and it was wild. And it was wicked, but it wasn't very scalable. Because with a camp, you can get like 6 people to a coach or something like that. So all of a sudden, it gets really, really hard to scale it in a big way.
Yeah.
Whereas with the internet, we can reach hundreds of thousands of millions of people in a much easier format. So it was all about just what was the best business decision, and always tweaking Snowboard Addiction to go in the route that we think is going to be best for the company.
Yeah. And how did you find the experiences actually going from those different countries, and what were the differences between them in terms of how their culture, of course, and their snowboarding essentially?
So New Zealand and Canada, we kind of talked about, it's fairly similar. Japan, have you guys been to Japan before?
No, I've not been to Japan. It's on my bucket list though.
Again, on the bucket list, yeah.
Awesome. Japan's a really, really cool experience. Every snowboarder should go there at least once, if not for a season. They get a lot of powder. They get the most powder in the world. So, and everyone loves riding powder. It's such a good feeling. So they also have fantastic food. The Japanese food, I mean, like, maybe I'm biased, but I love the Japanese food. Sushi and the ramen, all the different food over there is just so good. And the people are really friendly. Everyone's very polite, very, well-mannered. It's just awesome. It's just a cool place to visit. I mean, I love Japan, and I love Canada too, and I love New Zealand, but I'll definitely be going back to Japan. I've been there twice. It's awesome.
Is because it's such quite a massive snowboard culture in kind of China and Japan, isn't there? Did you notice that when you first arrived there, that there was like a big ratio? Just because like where usually in Europe there's such a big kind of gap between like skiers, loads of them, and like snowboarders. Did you find that all when you went to those resorts?
I don't know if I found it so much, because I think there's a pretty big snowboard culture here in Whistler.
Yeah.
So like even on opening day last week, I was looking around and I was like, man, snowboarders are killing it. There's like 3/4 the amount of snowboarders out here. So like for me going to Japan, it was kind of like, yeah, I was snowboarding. It just seemed normal. I've spent some time in Europe, but it's been a long time ago, so I can't remember. But I believe there's more of a skiing's
Yeah.
bigger in
Very massive.
Yeah, there's a big old shift. But to be fair, we've even over this week where we've had the snow domes open back up in the UK, I've seen such a big, massive ratio between snowboarders and skiers. There's been so many more sporters because it used to be kind of just, you'd see skiers and then a couple of snowboarders kind of dished in the slopes. But I've literally, since we've been going to the domes back this week, it's just been this real good, massive shift. I don't know whether it's because the culture of snowboarding where we're just like, oh great, it's open straight away, let's go and just shred, whereas it's a bit more kind of preserved for skiers.
Yeah.
I think snowboarding is alive and well. I think it's got hardcore fans all over the world who are never going to stop snowboarding, and it's so fun as a sport that I just don't think it's going to go anywhere. And I think maybe it'll go in waves, and skiers will be in waves here. But man, I mean, I see good things ahead for snowboarding as long as there's snow in the world. I'm sure we'll have snow for most of our lifetimes.
Yeah.
See how global warming pans out, but I mean, like, I know there's lots of talk about global warming, and I think as a world, I think we're making the right moves.
Yeah.
Even maybe we could do it faster than we are, but electric cars are becoming more common. Things like recycling is becoming a lot more common. Eventually, the use of oil will decrease. So all this stuff's going to move in the right direction, and hopefully, snow sticks around. Otherwise, we'll have to move to surfing and wakeboarding.
Yeah, or just solid dry slopes and trying to make our own snow at least, for sure. Yeah.
It doesn't help because the snow domes they need a lot of energy to keep the snow cool. So it's sort of going against the mentality of, wanting to keep that sort of environmentally friendly thing, but then you also kind of want to snowboard, especially in UK, since, we don't have snow half the time. It's all just rain. So, yeah.
I think there'll be new technology born that will help the world with whatever it needs at the time. But I think it's going to be okay, but we'll see how it pans out.
Yeah. If we still keep doing the mentality that we're having now, then it should be, hopefully, okay.
Yeah. I mean, did you actually ever, going back onto the sandboarding, have you ever tried any like other kind of boarding related sports, such as like wakeboarding, sandboarding, surfboarding? Did you do that actually previously before you started boarding, or did that come in as you were doing snowboarding?
Yeah, so I grew up surfing and skateboarding, mostly at the same time as snowboarding. So in my teenage years, I did a ton of skateboarding. So, and I think the skateboarding really helped me a lot. If you want to get good at snowboarding and you want a good summer sport, I don't really skate anymore. I just kind of, life got on and I got busy with so much other stuff. But I think skateboarding is really good balance for everything snowboard related. And I really love surfing. I love going on tropical surfing vacations. Hawaii, Central America, Fiji, those kind of places. And I think I'll be doing that hopefully for most of my life, unless I get bored of surfing. I definitely like that summer vibe as well. I like hanging out in board shorts and wearing sunglasses. So,
do you feel there's like the comparative of snowboarding and surfing? Do you feel there's quite similar techniques, or do you have to feel like you have to change the way you kind of ride to those specific sports?
I would say the techniques are more similar between skateboarding. Skateboarding and snowboarding, especially in the fact that in skateboarding, you've got like board slides and manuals, things like doing rails and boxes. All the grabs are very similar in skateboarding to snowboarding. So those have a lot more similarities. Surfing, the main similarity is that it's a board sport. You're standing sideways on the board. So the way that you lean your body is somewhat similar, but the stance is different for surfing. And paddling is the massive thing that's different for surfing. You guys surf at all?
Oh yeah, I've surfed.
I've never tried it.
Got good surfing community down in Cornwall area.
I was actually in the UK last year.
Where about?
We got married in where was it? Somewhere in London. Yeah, close to London. So I was there for a few weeks last year. It was quite nice. Quite surprised. I actually quite liked it.
That's good, isn't it?
I didn't know what to think. I'd never been to England, right? And I kind of thought, it's going to be like rainy and like people will be all grumpy.
Is that people's conception of what British people are like?
Yeah.
I think there's like definitely a perception that people from Britain are like grumpy and like rainy and stuff over there.
Yeah.
To be honest, I can't disagree with that because I'll go over to America or something. And I'm like, oh my god, everyone's so nice. Come back to the UK and everyone's just like a bit of a twat, and you're like, oh.
I found everyone really friendly in the UK, but maybe it was just me. I don't know. I think I'm a fairly friendly person, and I found everyone friendly. The weather was nice when we were there. The food was good. I liked the food, and we had a good time. I'll go to England again at some point.
Yeah.
So you come up to Birmingham area, which is like
Peaky Blinders.
Peaky Blinders
That's all you need
area.
to know it is. That's all we're known for. Actually, kind of working when you did have your time working in Whistler Ski School. Was it mainly kind of Canadian instructors that you worked with, or was there any kind of other different nationalities?
Everyone. They have Canadians. They have New Zealanders, Australians, English people, Japanese people. They have everything. Anyone can get a job at a resort. It's actually super easy to get a job at a resort. They need instructors. They need people as lifties or whatever else to work in the restaurants. The hard thing in Whistler is accommodation.
Yeah.
Super hard to get accommodation here. If you work for the mountain, you can get staff accommodation sometimes, which is good, especially for the first year. So,
Yeah, a lot of
Whistler's kind of like the best resort in Canada. There's lots of smaller resorts that are probably easier to get accommodation at.
Yeah. To be fair, a lot of Canadian resorts do that, where they kind of give specifically instructors as well. They give like their first year or the first season to kind of give them housing to start off with, and then evidently it's like a lot of instructors just kind of group together and just try and cram into an apartment that they try and pay for. It's quite interesting. Did you ever feel like having that kind of mixed culture of instructors? Did you ever feel like you were able to kind of take different types of techniques and teaching styles from those instructors, or did you kind of just like, yeah, just go for it?
Kind of just like go for it.
Yeah.
I kind of just built my own style. But I mean, like, no, I definitely rode with other people and learned different things from other people for sure. But a lot of the techniques that I used were just kind of stuff I came up with because I started doing this in 2007, and there wasn't like there was no real strong programs teaching people freestyle.
Yeah.
Like most of the programs were snowboard instruction programs, which are more based around getting beginners up off the ground and teaching people how to turning techniques and stuff. Whereas I was teaching people like advanced freestyle techniques, how to do your ollie, how to 180, how to grab out of 360, how to board slide, and getting all the fundamentals behind that. So I think potentially a lot of the programs that come out might even use my material to base what they're doing. I don't know.
Are we ever going to have like a Snowboard Addiction kind of teaching manual one day? Is that ever going to be a thing?
I thought about it. I thought about it. It's possible. I won't rule it out.
Yeah, it's on the notes.
I kind of thought about maybe an international standard of teaching that's based around freestyle.
Yeah, because you have like the little courses in every association, but you don't have sort of a main sort of thing, do you?
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, there's so many good ideas of stuff to do that really you don't always have the time to do them.
No. Yeah.
Because I want to do one too, right?
Yeah.
I think you got to cover all your bases because most of the time doing a qualification, it covers it. The freestyle, there's like a few freestyle elements. It's like, I will show that you have to do 4 180s or just make sure you have to do a straight air off a kick and look like you're, controlled in the air. But there's not, apart from like the little ones, it's not a main, as you said, proper freestyle sort of thing where you have to think about what, exact things you got to do.
Yeah, if I ever had the time, I would build a whole program that would teach people how to snowboard based around freestyle moves. That would be pretty awesome. Maybe I'll do it. I don't know. We'll see. Life's busy. I got 2 kids now.
Yeah.
I got a 4-year-old and a nearly 2-year-old.
I've been seeing the little videos on Snowboard Addiction for you guys taking them out, and some of them on the wriggle board. I love it. It's so
Yeah,
good to see.
the last year we put out a video of one of the boys in my office. You've probably seen it.
Yeah.
And there's him jibbing around the office. 25 million views.
Is that the most viewed video you've ever had?
It was our most popular video ever.
Who would expect?
Everyone just likes cute kids snowboarding.
Yeah, to be fair, everyone does like cute kids just snowboarding. Going from the freestyle element, then, do you have like any favorite tricks that you love to pull when you're on the mountain? Is there any kind of iconic trick that has inspired you from certain athletes that have done that, such as like Craig Kelly with the method, and so on and so forth?
Yeah, I think most of my favorite tricks are all like the real classic tricks that maybe it's something as you get older, everyone likes to just do the classic tricks that you've done forever.
Yeah.
So I love things like the method's an essential trick. I'm sure everyone listening to this podcast knows what a method is. If you don't, go on snowboardaddiction.com and there's a tutorial that shows you what a method is and how to do it. But I love things like backside 180s, backside 180 with a nice grab, tweaked out, or a frontside 360. Just those big classic floaty tricks.
Yeah.
Are awesome. They feel good. Once you know how to do them, they're not that hard to do. And they always look good. So,
what's your view on sort of, as snowboarding progresses, you see that, each trick is becoming more and more complicated. Some person will add more rotation into their tricks. So like they'll do like a cork 900 or something, and with whatever grab. What's your sort of view on that? Do you like, as you said, to keep with the simple sort of side trick tricks, or are you sort of liking the new sort of spinny tricks that people are doing?
I prefer more stylish tricks is my personal preference.
Yeah. But
I also understand that to win a contest, you have to be doing the next level thing that no one's done. But I would rather see, like, let's say if someone's going to do a 1080 or a 1260, I'd rather see the 1080 with a lot of style than a 1260 with not much style. Clean grab, tweaked out, good style is definitely my preference.
Yeah.
But I see both, and you got to give these guys credit. These tricks they're doing are amazing. I don't want to try any of the stuff they're doing. It's nuts. It's so dangerous. Well, of course, for most people to do that stuff, because they know what they're doing. And if you can do a perfect 1260, adding another 180 to a 1440, it's probably not dangerous for those guys.
Yeah. No.
Those guys are crazy. It's awesome. They're amazing athletes. I definitely like, snowboarding for me, it's all about fun.
Yeah.
And it's all about helping people get better. But I like the whole fun aspect, people partying, having a good time, riding power with their friends, with their families. That's snowboarding for me.
Yeah. Before we move on to the last question, in terms of people who inspired you, athletes in snowboarding, do you have any significant kind of figures that you kind of looked up to or have seen and been like, wow, they're so good?
I think my favorite snowboarder has probably mostly always been Travis Rice.
Yeah.
I've known about Travis Rice for probably like 15 years when I first saw him in New Zealand. And he was just killer. He was at this rail contest. And ever since then, I just followed the progression of everything he's done. It's always been, he came up through contests, freestyle focus, moved it to the backcountry. He's the best in the world at freestyle in the backcountry. Everything he does is huge, good style, and he's a party animal too. He's like a snowboarder. Everybody likes him. Almost nobody has anything bad to say about Travis Rice, and he's my favorite. And there's lots of other great ones in between. You guys have a favorite?
Damien Saunders.
Damien Saunders?
Yeah, proper weird hard boot setup that he used to have. But yeah, and obviously Craig Kelly, because method's my favourite trick to do. For sure.
kind of similar. Craig Kelly and Damien Saunders, we love those guys. I love to do kind of a hard boot set up with like on a half pipe.
I've tried it off a kicker once. It just does. It hurts.
Mental.
I've never tried hard boots.
Oh, great! Honestly, if you get the chance to,
try it.
give
It's
it a
weird.
go.
It's weird. You have to have obviously the positive angles, like your back foot's proper turned in. You could have risers on it and everything. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird to get used to, but it's something to try like at least once.
To be fair, yeah. Yeah. To be fair, Nev, we have like the poorer version of the hard boot setup where it's bindings where you can just attach ski boots in. Because hard boots are just too expensive and just the actual bindings are just too expensive. Yeah.
What sort of setup do you normally have? Boards, bindings, boots stand out to you. I know like the boots are normally the one that fits your foot, but more board and bindings area that you've gone, I kind of want to stick with that sort of brand.
Cool. So rather than brands, let me talk to you about my 2 setups.
Okay.
I predominantly have 2 main setups in snowboarding. And I think most people, if they do the kind of snowboarding that I do, would probably want these 2 setups too. One is I have like a twin tip setup for riding the mountain.
Yeah.
And the other one is I have a setup for riding pow. Because I ride a lot of pow whenever I can. And if you ride a lot of pow, the powder shaped boards are far superior in powder. They make it easier to ride. They make it easier to land tricks in powder. You get much less leg burn. You can ride harder all day. And so what a power board normally looks like is a bit of a smaller tail, a bit of a bigger nose, a bit of a setback stance. That's the main things in a powder setup. And that setup is not so good for the park because in the park, I want a twin tip board. I want something that's exact to ride both directions. So if you're doing 180s, 540s, board side to fakie, switch tricks, buttering to switch, that it's going to feel the same both ways you're riding. So if there's anything of like 10 centimeters or less of powder, I'm generally riding my twin tip setup.
Yeah.
If it's anything above 10 centimeters, from 10 up to like 50 centimeters of power, I'll generally ride my PAL setup. And so for me, my twin tip setup's also a bit shorter. My PAL setup's a bit longer. My PAL board's a little bit stiffer than my twin tip setup. And then that allows me to ride all the types of riding that I like to do, freestyle and powder.
Nice.
Which I think probably covers 90% of snowboard.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I did see your snowboards with, of course, the Snowboard Addiction logo on them. I'm guessing were they manufactured specifically for you?
Yeah, we have some Snowboard Addiction boards that we got manufactured. So we have some twin tip boards that we ride in the park, and they're just good all mountain twin tip boards. The most thing I could relate it to is something like a Burden Custom.
Okay.
Which is a good twin tip board that you can ride everywhere on the mountain. It performs on everything. No fancy gimmicks. It's just a good all round board. Yeah. Regular camber. My jam is definitely regular camber.
Oh yeah, I can't ride any other board but camber. Yeah.
Even in the POW, I ride regular camber in the POW, regular camber in the park, regular camber. Does that kind of give you an idea of the kind of boards I ride?
Yeah. Have you tried any sort of new volume shifted boards? And where obviously they've shrunk it down, made it fat, made it wider. So like the S2020 and stuff, it's pretty sort of good aspect, but as you said before, I think seems like you're happy enough with your normal powder boards and your normal all mountain boards.
Yeah, now that you talk about it, I do know what you're talking about. I probably wouldn't make a big change unless I saw a bunch of pros riding it.
No.
Because the pros know what's up.
Yeah.
The pros snowboard more than anyone. And if you see them riding something all the time, you know it's good. So it's kind of like, your step-in bindings, how Burden came out with the big step-ins?
Yeah.
And I get everyone asking, like, have you tried those step-ins? I'm like, man, I don't see many of the pros riding it. If I see all their team riding it all the time and that was their choice, I'll be like, okay, that's legit. But you see lots of pros out there riding power boards in the POW, and you see lots of pros riding their normal boards when they're doing normal snowboarding in the park and competition and stuff. And I don't see many people riding those really funky shape boards yet. I haven't seen many people riding them in real life.
Great.
Going on to the last question then, Nev. in your opinion, what makes a great snowboard instructor?
To make a great snowboard instructor, you probably have to care about the student who you're teaching, to want to help them improve their riding. That's probably it. You got to care about the student, because it doesn't matter how good you are at snowboarding. It doesn't matter how much you know, and it doesn't matter your teaching style. It matters whether you care about that student and whether you can give them enough tips or advice or demonstrations to help them improve their riding. If you can do that, they're going to get better, and that makes you a good snowboard instructor. If you can help people get better. There's lots of things that help.
Yeah.
So if you're a good snowboarder, that helps. They're going to watch you. And if they see you do something perfectly, that's going to help. If you're a good communicator, like you're clear, well-spoken, energetic, enthusiastic, that's going to help. Because nobody wants to get instruction from somebody who can't even hear what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, put yourself out there on the line. Be confident. Fake it till you make it if you have to. Be bold and care about the student. Help them with their riding. Really look at what's going wrong and give whatever advice you can, and experiment to see what works for that student, because everyone's different.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being on. Before we do end the podcast, is there anything you want to kind of plug in terms of contacts, where to find you with Snowboard Addiction, and anything like that?
Cool. Why not? I'll do a plug. Snowboard Addiction. Snowboardaddiction.com is the website. We produce the world's best education for snowboarding and training products for snowboarders. Things like tramp boards and balance bars, balance tools. They are fantastic. They're a lot of fun. They're fun and they're good for your riding. They're going to make you a better snowboarder. If you haven't heard of them, check them out. Snowboardaddiction.com. I'll go so far to say that if you're listening to this podcast and you don't like our product, you try it and you don't like it, send it back and we'll refund your money. You don't tell it to many people, but I'm telling you guys, if you're listening to this and you're not sure, buy it, you don't like it, send it back to our office, we'll refund your money. Let's say I'll give you like a 4-month window to do that. Because it's not like 2 years. But it's a lot of fun. It's going to make you a better rider. That's what we make. We make these products for you guys. They're designed by snowboarders, people that snowboard all the time. You know, I go to China and I help develop these products. I work with our manufacturers. I give them the feedback personally, and I use it myself. You guys have seen me in the videos.
Yeah.
And I love being on these podcasts anyway, because I'm just sharing my opinion about snowboarding. I think it's a great sport. I've been doing it my whole life. I'm still addicted to it. It's a very positive sport. It's fun. You can do it with your friends. You can do it with your family, and you can do it your whole life.
Yeah.
And if you guys are in Whistler and you see me, come and say hi. If you're coming out here, let me know. Anyone else, if you guys see us around, come and say hi. Give us a high five. And if we have a camera there, and I'm filming, I'm happy to do some tutorials with you guys.
Yeah.
I can't say that's always the case, but
Definitely.
for those lucky people that get me at the right time, I'm always happy to help people hands-on.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Perfect. Awesome.